Hi everybody, thanks for joining the webinar. This is David Fox speaking from London, and with me today I've got Olivier from DataIntell in Quebec, Canada. Hi Olivier.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
So we're going to basically, with two products to talk about that integrate with each other. One is DataIntell, the other is Archiware P5. So we're going to give some slides to give an overview of each of those products, and then we're going to give a live demo, or Olivier is going to give a live demo of DataIntell, and I'm going to show you some of the P5 backend configuration, and then we'll take your questions and wrap up. We're planning on the whole thing being done in about 40 minutes, maybe a little bit less. So with that, I'm going to advance the slides, Olivier, and you're going to talk. So overview of DataIntell, take it away.
Thank you, David. So in the past decade, we've observed a trend. Many infrastructure are embracing diverse storage solutions from leading vendors, resulting in data spread across on-site location, the cloud, and archives. Every year, organizations produce an increasing amount of data, with roughly 80% being unstructured. If you're managing 1 petabyte of data now, anticipate it doubling in just 2 years. What we've seen with our clientele is that the sheer volume and complexity of this data growth often lead to a default solution, simply purchasing more storage. This often sidestep the crucial step of revalidating, optimizing internal workflows. Next slide, please. DataIntell elevates storage utilization efficiency while reducing complexity. It delivers near real-time analytics and insight on your storage and data landscape. We can compute the cost of a specific folder or project, equipping you with actionable strategies to reduce these expenses. Next, please. We aim to clarify the pressing question often leave unanswered, yet they significantly affect operation. Think about it. How much time and resources does your organization spend just searching for files? Can you measure its impact on profit? Consider these scenarios. Unsure about where recent projects are stored? Wondering if a project data is in the cloud or archive? Are you keen to cut costs? Are you overpaying for cloud storage due to duplicates? Is cold data taking up space in your priciest storage? Are you concerned about growth? Will your current storage handle 2 more projects next month? Can you make room for them? DataIntell is crafted for everyone, from IT professionals to data managers and owners. It ensures all users can find answers to these pivotal questions. Next slide.
Sure. There's a bit of a delay
how DataIntell works?
You,
yeah, no problem. How DataIntell works? It's a web-based application installed on-premise. The application is secure and passive. It won't delete, rename, or move file in infrastructure. DataIntell will leverage other applications like Archiware P5 to do operations on file like archiving or restoring files. To give you all this relevant information, DataIntell reads metadata from files with our advanced crawling system. To be able to do analytics on storage, the application indexes information such as file name, size, modified date, access dates. For cloud storage, DataIntell support all S3 compatible storage with the use of REST APIs. For Archiware P5 archive indexes, DataIntell is also using REST API to get the latest version of all the archived files. In order to give you trends and overview of all your storage over time, the software scans at least once a day. And with all this information, you can get a single pane of glass for the complete landscape of your storage. Next slide. This is a list of some of the technology we support with DataIntell. We also support most of the storage vendors like Quantum, Cumulo, Dell, Avid, because of the use of standard protocol like SMB or NFS. Next slide. DataIntell is a subscription-based solution. It comes with support and updates. There is no limitation on storage capacity or number of users. We offer trial, and it comes It comes with a quick training of the solution. The installation usually takes less than an hour, and the configuration are minimal to get relevant information about your storage. Next slide.
Okay.
DataIntell is helping organization do more with less. With all that knowledge, rational storage decisions are taken. Planning ahead, like how much cloud storage we need for this next project, is simple. The financial impact of managing all this data growth is greatly reduced with DataIntell as a single pane of glass of all the storage landscape. So that was a quick overview of what we're doing. I'll show you a demo later on. So back to you, David.
Okay. Thanks, Olivier. So yeah, I think while you're talking, I'm just thinking you can't really get this kind of overview of storage use, growth, what's not being used, what is being used, without having an additional tool sitting on top of your various different storage silos. You can use an operating system to go do a get info or a properties on a folder to try and see where stuff is, and it takes a long time because it counts through all the files there and then to give you a figure. But to have real analytics of storage, you need a tool like this sitting on top, and there aren't many or any other products that really do this. So like we said, we'll give you a live demo and show you what all of that stuff looks like, but that was an overview. This is an overview of Archiware P5. So for those that are not familiar with us, we're a software product from Munich in Germany, and we comprise 3 different modules. I'm looking for my laser pointer. There it is, so I can point. So yeah, we have 3 different data management modules within a single suite, within a single admin interface. We have a backup for disaster recovery purposes. We have an archive product for moving data to cold storage, where it doesn't need to be on your expensive production storage because it's maybe completed projects and so on. And then we have a replication tool called P5 Synchronize, which can replicate files and folders between one host and another in a structured workflow. So we have these 2 products, backup and archive, and sometimes they are confused and conflated. So just to clarify, a backup is entirely different to an archive, although they do look the same, and sometimes people treat their backup like an archive. A backup is a copy of data that allows you to recover your storage in the event of a disaster. And a backup will typically run every day and capture all the changes that have taken place in that day, so that you have a position where you can recover all of your data back to some recent point in time. And everybody should have at least 2 backups, so they can have a failure of a backup, a failure of their storage, and still be able to recover stuff. Now contrast that with an archive, where an archive is moving data into the archive, where you're selecting completed work that you're going to take offline, that you don't envisage that you're going to need in the short term, and therefore doesn't need to be on your storage. You're going to select, based on what you know about the data, what it is that you want to archive, and DataIntell can help with that selection and automate it. And pretty much all broadcast and media companies, where they have lots of media files arriving on their storage, they need an archive. And by archiving data which doesn't need to be on the live storage, the backup will be smaller, because you're not backing up projects that you completed 18 months ago, and you're not just keeping those in the backup. They can shift to the archive, and then the backup is more manageable. If you're thinking that just buying more disks, maybe cheap disks, is a way to have an archive, then it's not such a good idea. Maybe for very, very small archives, but then small hard drives, they don't last very long. And whereas cloud and LTO storage, which we'll talk about in a second, has a much longer life, you don't have redundancy, they're not searchable. It's not generally regarded as a professional solution, certainly not by us. So if you're looking to do archiving to cold storage with Archiware P5, then we would recommend using either LTO tape or cloud storage for moving that data off of your live storage. So P5 sits and runs on a host and has access to various storage silos within the organization, on-prem and off-prem. And with it, you're able to move data to something like a rack-mounted tape library, or a standalone tape drive, or one of the many cloud vendors that we support. And in addition to being able to archive in the first instance to either tape or cloud storage, we have a migration tool called Data Mover, which allows you to pick up data which maybe you archived already some years back to, let's say, LTO5, one of the older, smaller LTO generations. You can migrate this to cloud storage. You can migrate to a newer LTO format like LTO 8 or 9 with much larger tape capacity. So Data Mover allows this flexibility of taking your cold data storage and the files within it and being able to migrate that to any other storage that you wish to put it in. So over a period of time, over a period of decades, you can keep up to date with the latest storage technologies without redoing your archive from scratch. So the storage options available for archive and backup are cloud storage from vendors like Amazon, Azure, Backblaze, Wasabi, and many more, including generic S3 connections to lots of new emerging products that are using the S3 protocol. Then we have our class-leading LTO tape support, where we support drives and libraries from all vendors, using all different interconnects, SAS, Fibre Channel, Thunderbolt, even Ethernet. And you can also archive to disk, although this is a less useful way of moving cold data because disks have relatively short lifespan, are relatively expensive per terabyte versus the cost of the cheapest cloud storage, and certainly LTO tape storage, which has a very low cost per terabyte. So how does P5 and DataIntell, how do they work together? So what you can think of it as is if the customer has a number of different storage silos, a complex storage environment maybe with some cheaper NAS devices and some high-end SSD cache storage for production workflows maybe, you can run DataIntell over the top of all of that storage, and you'll have that single pane of glass web view of where your files are, how much space they're taking, how things are changing. And from within DataIntell, you can identify files that nobody's looked at for 18 months or 2 years. You can identify folders and projects which don't seem to need to be on that storage. And then you can trigger directly through an integration the movement from the online storage to offline storage. And I've included both cloud and LTO in this graphic. So you configure this cloud storage, you configure your tape hardware, on-prem storage, you get a bunch of tapes ready, and then you can just use DataIntell to migrate that data, and then you're freeing up space. DataIntell will show you how that you've got a load of free space available for incoming projects, and life is much easier. So final screenshot in the slides before we move into our demo. Once archived within P5, either to tape or to cloud, we have a MAM interface. So everything that P5 is moving into the archive cold storage for you is going to be visible in this web interface, where you can be browsing or searching down a folder path that's understood, and then you can see the files that were at that location on the live storage at some point in the past. We can capture thumbnails, and we can capture playable proxies and metadata of media files that have been moved into the archive. So these are now offline, maybe in the cloud or maybe on a tape, but you can still use this interface to search and see files and then choose what you want to recover. But the recovery process can also be automated through DataIntell, which we'll see in a moment. Okay, so live demo time. This is the fun bit. So let me go back to the relevant
I know I
go-to
should be able to
interface.
share.
Yeah, because you are an organizer. So great. So you've got the screen, and take it away. Thanks, Olivier.
So we'll start with a demo of DataIntell, and then we'll do a P5 demo.
Yep.
So as you can see, DataIntell is a web application that is installed on-prem, as I said earlier. My demo system, I've been scanning for a couple of months now, my infrastructure here. And we've indexed file metadata from different storage silos. So we have a couple of NAS, a couple of S3 buckets, and one Archiware P5 index in here. As you can see, the platform is divided in 4 different sections at the top. And right now we're looking at the dashboard. And because we're collecting information on a daily basis, we can give you insights about your storage over time. For example, here, I can tell you that on that specific NAS, we added almost 25 terabytes of data in the last 90 days. We can look at some cold data, which is based on the access dates of the file. So in my infrastructure right now, we have 82 terabytes of data that has not been touched in more than 6 months. We can monitor the different on-prem storage that we have in my infrastructure, and we can look at the different cloud buckets and how much data we're using for all of those buckets. Because the application was designed to help, yes, technical people, but also non-technical people, we're trying to keep the platform as easy as possible. So if you want to get relevant information about your storage, you just need to know how to click, and you don't need to know how to do specific queries to get results. For example, if I want to learn more about all the files that were last accessed 6 months ago, I just click. And that will bring me to the search section with a predefined filter, so all the files last accessed 6 months ago, and it will give me a list of files. So right now, 500,000 files, 82 terabytes, a list of folders that fits that search query, and even a visual representation of that data. And those visual representation are based on metadata of the file. So out of all those cold data 6 months, I can tell you that we have 26 terabytes of data in my system that was created in 2021. I want to learn more about that. I just click. That will bring more filtered option, and it will update my charts, but it will also update my file results. So now 180 files were found. And I can drill down the infrastructure that way. So go and I just want to see, for example, in the extension panel, only the MOV that are located on that specific NAS here. And that way I can build custom filters. And now we have less than 5 terabytes of data. So these files are files that were last accessed at least 6 months ago on the NAS that are MOV and that were created in 2021. I think this list is a potentially great list to archive. So with some third-party integration, we can do that kind of workflow. We have our own internal tagging system. So if you want to tag stuff for creating custom lists, you can do that. We support different third-party like CloudSoda, which is a data mover that can move data from cloud to cloud, cloud to on-prem, and on-prem to cloud. And we also support storage manager from Quantum. But in the use case I want to show
Olivier,
you today is yeah.
I was going to just ask a quick question. The tagging, it's going to tag all the files in the selection. That's just a tag which exists within the DataIntell database, right? It doesn't modify, it doesn't make any changes to the files. Yeah, but it allows you to go back and search for those tags later.
Yeah, you can from the tag from the search panel, you can search based on the tags you define. So you could do internal list. For example, this is a great use case. You can define permission to a user that doesn't have access to archiving, let's say with P5, but he has access to tagging assets. So we could tag files for you, saying we can archive those files or those folders, and then the person with the right permission can come in, get that list, make sure everything is right, and with analytics, for example, and then come back and launch the archive, for example, with P5 in my case. So the integration with P5 will, so the integration with P5 will let us get that list of files, select an archive plan. So we have different archive plan, and in 3 steps, I can send 4.9 terabytes to P5, and P5 will take care of that and put that in the right location, whether it's a tape library or cloud storage, depending on how you define your P5 configuration. So very easy to just search asset from the search section also. So you can type keyword and it will find files for you. Other thing we can look at is potentially file management, where you can see all your physical silos of data. For example, this is one of my P5 archive. I can open that, and this is the information that is located in P5, potentially on the tape library or in the cloud. And we can drill down the folder tree structure as we're used to in P5, for example. And we can even select asset and restore them to a specific location on storage. And that's an easy way for users that don't want to go to P5 to just restore asset based on the file. And you can do that from the file management section or from the search section. If we go back to the list of volume and storage that we have, we also have on-prem storage. This is the NAS. Again, I can drill down my infrastructure as I'm used to. But on the right side, we can look at managing that storage. So this is the NAS. We're currently using 106 terabytes of data on a total of 112. And we have some insights about that storage. So for example, we have some duplicate data. I want to learn more about that. Again, you don't need to know how to do specific query. You just click, and that will bring you to the search section and give you all the list of duplicate files on that specific storage. But you could also start monitoring what's happening on that storage. So this is usage of the last 90 days. And I can tell you that we have a couple of high peak of usage in the last 90 days. Imagine if we were working on 5 projects at that time. What will happen if we have 7 projects in 2 months or 3 months? I know for sure that with the current infrastructure, I won't be able to ingest those projects. But at least I can start building a business case with, for example, the PDF exports of that storage analytics, and saying we might start moving data to another storage, or might need to buy more storage for the next project that are coming shortly. So yeah, quick overview of how you can see your different silos of data. We also have a concept of project, which is a way to look at virtual silos of data. So under file management, we see the physical list of storage that we have. Project, we could look at a project as a department project workspace. So for example, I have a project called marketing, which is monitoring the marketing department in my organization. Currently, they have data scattered in different locations, and that's how the system works. Is you configure folder that may be scattered in the infrastructure, and this department is using data from 3 different NAS and 1 S3 bucket, and they're currently using 72 terabytes. And we define internally an internal budget of usage of 70. So they might receive notification if we configure notification for them, saying you should start optimizing your current usage of data, and they can do that with, I don't know, leveraging insights from that project. So getting the duplicate data of that project. So all the folders of that project that has a duplicate file, it will list them for you. So it's another way to look at data. So we see a lot of organizations leveraging that to do internal budget of department or project, and you can even monitor what's happening over time on that project. We also have an
if
option.
I could just interrupt again, Olivier, just a question from me. You could define a project to be a couple of folders on a couple of different pieces of storage. When that project is completed, you could archive it to tape or cloud with P5, but you could still use that project after the files have been moved offline to select them and bring them back online again if there's a need to have that project back on storage again.
Yeah, and you can even configure a project with archive data. So if you just want to monitor some specific archive of a project, you can do that as well.
Okay.
So yeah, we have a monthly expense feature that will let you calculate cost of projects. So you define your own pricing per storage, and we'll calculate the cost of keeping that project active in your infrastructure. So if you want to do, again, budget, great way to do that. Finally, I will show you a small advanced feature that we can do with the platform. For example, if I go back to file management, there's a way to see analytics of a folder, where you want to see, for example, what's happening in the last 14 days in a specific folder. You can do that with DataIntell because we're collecting information on a daily basis. We can tell you where data grows, what folder, what data was added in what folder, and even what file was deleted or removed from the system in the last 14 days. So you see that you can come from very high level to very granular.
Yeah, it knows about every
so that
file that you have, basically.
Exactly, because we're keeping indexes of every file on a daily basis. We can compare those index and give you more information about that.
Right. So in order to do this, you are running basically traversing and looking at every file on every piece of storage, typically overnight, to update your database with a fresh daily snapshot of what's on the storage. And then the following day, you've got up-to-date stats about everything that are pretty much instantly available in this web interface, because it's just querying the database that it's built rather than actually looking at the file, the storage. So there's no impact on the storage, except that briefly overnight when you're running against it and having a look at everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think I'll give you control of my computer if you want to do a quick demo of let me give you control.
Yeah, I got the message to say take remote control, so let me just click somewhere just to make sure that I've got it all the way from
session is expired. London. Let me log back in.
Okay. Cheers. Okay, so we've got DataIntell integrating with Archiware P5. Archiware P5 has to be configured so that it's sitting there ready to receive data to push to cloud or LPO storage, and that all happens within this web interface. But generally speaking, once you've got P5 set up to your requirements, then you wouldn't necessarily have to come in here very often if you're using DataIntell, because you can push stuff to tape or cloud and also recover it all within DataIntell's interface. So I was going to just show you a little bit of the setup possibilities in P5. So our interface divides into 3 tabs across the top here: backup, archive, synchronize, and then we also have this blue restore tab, which allows us to go browse everything that we archived within this interface and search and potentially see thumbnails and proxies of files that you've archived at the same time. So whilst we're in the archive tab, if we go into the storage manager, in here we can see the various types of storage that you configure with P5. You can have a cloud service. We've got a Backblaze bucket configured here. This just requires that you plumb in your credentials from your own Backblaze account or Amazon account or whatever when you're adding a new piece of cloud storage to this interface. Oh, did I get oh, thank you for dragging the window in. So you can then choose from a bunch of different types of cloud storage that we support. Amazon, probably one of the most popular. Within Amazon, we support stuff like Glacier, Deep Archive. Amazon have a very broad and sophisticated cloud offering at various different price points. You can also add your tape libraries in here. We don't have any tape library hardware on this demo machine, or standalone tape drives. Once you've got the storage configured, you'll go and create yourself an archive workflow, which we call an archive plan. And Olivier is busily dragging the windows from his second screen into the right place. Thank you. And so from within the archive plan, you're going to configure your target storage, whether that's tape or cloud, and a target MAM database. And then from within here, you can do stuff like configure the generation of previews of that data. So we can use the open source FFmpeg and ImageMagick tools to render proxies and build thumbnails of media files. And we can also, within P5, import metadata, technical metadata from within files, so that is also searchable. And so once you've got all of the configuration...
Just a quick word, this is exactly what DataIntell gets when it communicates with P5. It just get the list of archive plans and it leverage those archive plans to archive assets. So you configure them here, and DataIntell will just send requests based on those archive plans.
And DataIntell knows how to query P5's archive indexes, so that if you're already running Archiware P5 archive and then you add DataIntell can retrospectively trawl those archive indexes and then display all of the files that you have in your archive even though it was introduced as a later addition to P5. So I'm just browsing here in our MAM database, and just as an example to show you, if we look in Olivier's movies folder here, we can see what it looks like once you've archived a folder in P5. It's visible in this web interface. You can see a grid of thumbnails over here, and then for any media file, we can also we can generate maybe a short playable proxy of that file. So even though these files have been pushed to cloud storage or are now on LTO tapes, you can still see these files, play them back, and establish what you've got in the archive before you actually decide to recover it. So yeah, you can go into this MAM interface within P5 to get greater insight into the files in your archive, or more likely with DataIntell, you'd just be looking to target a folder and bring that back onto live storage. Okay, so we're 35 minutes of the way into our 40 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll go to your questions and see what you guys want to ask us. So we'll turn our cameras back on at this point, just to give you a little more of an interactive feel from both sides of the Atlantic. So I've got a question here from Sanjay. Is auto tag available, or do we have to do it manually? That's a question for you, Olivier. Auto tagging?
Yeah, in the current version of DataIntell, right now, tagging is a manual process. It's something we're looking for in the near future, having a way to automatically tag asset based on search queries, for example.
Okay, so right, so you could basically run a tagging pass overnight, do a query to say all of the movie files that are over 50 gigabytes in size or something, and then tag those as being a large file or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be the use case that we have planned, but it's not currently available in the current version of DataIntell.
Okay, question from Steve. How does DataIntell find duplicated files? I guess that's what criteria do you use to decide that a file is a duplicate?
Yeah, so depending on where the file is located, we can find duplicated files. For example, on-prem, we're looking at the name of the file, the last modified date and timestamp, and the size in byte. So those three criteria, if they're the same for two files, we consider them duplicate. For the cloud storage, so S3 buckets, for example, or Backblaze buckets, we leverage a field called etag, which is an MD5 of the files. So with that information, we can tell you if two files are duplicate in the cloud.
Yeah, because one of the important things with DataIntell is that we don't ever read the actual data in the file. We're only looking at the metadata or the headers for the file, because you might have like I just said, like a 50 gigabyte movie file. Obviously, reading that entire file is a time-consuming business that would really impact on storage performance. But when you put a file in the cloud storage, the cloud vendor gives you an MD5 checksum for free, effectively, without you having to read the whole file back. So that's a good way of doing it. So thanks for that question, Steve. Robert asks, is it possible to deploy DataIntell in the cloud?
Yes, there's a way to do that. We do have a customer that are deploying DataIntell in the cloud, and we have a remote agent to scan storage, because we need to have an application running in the same network as the storage to be able to scan the storage efficiently. We even support multiple instances. So if you have, for example, two offices and you want to index all that data in one centralized database, we do support that workflow with different agents deployed in the different facility, pushing data to a centralized, for example, cloud infrastructure.
Okay. So you can have different nodes talking to each other across an IP network, providing that IP network is set up and fast enough to do that job.
Can you do that for P5?
Yeah, we can. So we can archive from clients that are located at other locations, and we'll just pull the data across the IP network. So yeah, You can do the same thing with P5. So you could have two offices, one with a tape library, and the tape library is able to archive from storage at the other side. You just need to have a fast enough link that you can pull the data across so that the tape library can run the tapes at a regular speed. Question from Jeremy, is there a way to limit access to specific NAS or cloud storage? I guess that's like whitelists and blacklists, is it?
Yeah, there's a way in DataIntell, at least there's a way to do that. When you there's a concept called group where you can define what a group can see. So again, if I go back to my previous example, you have two facility with different storage. You can create a group for facility A. For if example, if we have an office in Montreal, I can say those users can only see storage from Montreal, and other user can only see data from the other location. Well, yes, we do support that kind of limitation of access.
Okay, and last question that I have on the screen at the moment, but you're welcome to type another one in. This one is from Paul. Is it possible to scan multiple P5 indexes into DataIntell? I think we can do that, right?
Yeah, again, the same example. If you define agents in different facility, they can centralize the information in one single pane of glass. So yes, we can support multiple P5 indexes in one centralized database.
Yeah, so that way a customer that already has 2 or 3 different P5 archive installations can kind of bring a central view across all of that archive data using DataIntell, which is something that you can't do with P5 alone. So that's quite interesting. Okay, brilliant. So we're at our 40 minutes. We've answered all the questions, unless there's another one about to pop up. So I think with that, we'll just finish up with a couple of slides. I need to. You can go to those slides actually. Yeah. So this is DataIntell. DataIntell's website, dataintell.io. They have a free 30-day trial evaluation. Get in touch if you're interested in getting an eval in your own environment. We can get something set up for you within your environment to play with and test for a little while, just to see if it's right for you. And next slide, please, Olivier. We've got Archiware's download, and the same deal with Archiware. We can provide you with an evaluation license. So yeah, I hope you found that content informative. Get in touch with us if you have any questions. We'll ping you an email so you've got our contact details. If you're going to be in New York next week, then come and see us at the show. There'll be another. We're repeating this webinar 6 p.m. UK time. So if you're feeling a bit sleepy because you're in the US, then you can watch it again in a few hours. So thanks again for your time, and we'll see you in the next webinar.
Thank you all.
Thanks very much, Olivier.
Yeah.